Hi, this is Meg the Realtor, and today we're going to get into the steps to buying a home in 2022. Step 1, find a realtor. I recommend finding a local realtor who is servicing the community that you currently are interested in buying in. They'll have the most accurate information about that current market, and they'll be able to recommend lenders to you and other vendors that'll be able to help you through that process. So first thing, meet with a local realtor, have a consultation so that way you can begin that process. Step number 2, get organized. One of the things that you're going to need to do when preparing to buy a home is apply for a mortgage. So when applying for a mortgage, there's a lot of information that's going to be needed. So when getting organized in order to apply for that mortgage, some of the paperwork that they're going to need from you is things such as tax returns from the last 2 years, your income for the last 2 years, so pay stubs or paychecks, and bank statements. And depending on the lender, they're going to need to see 3 to 6 months of bank statements so they can see your spending and your money habits. So start gathering all that necessary paperwork up so that you know how to locate them when you're ready to apply for that mortgage. You want to make sure that those things are electronic. So when gathering your taxes, your W-2s, any pay stubs, and bank statements as well, make sure that you're saving those on your phone or saving those on your computer so that they're easily accessible. During this time, it'll also be important for you to see if you qualify for any down payment assistance programs. You don't want to get into being under contract or into your home search and then start thinking, well, maybe I qualify for some assistant programs. You want to make sure that you're thinking about that beforehand. Some programs take a little time. Some programs have prerequisites where you have to have a class, 6 hours or 8 hours of a class to go to, or there may be some paperwork for you to fill out. So you want to make sure you qualify for these first-time homebuyer programs or these down payment assistant programs first, apply for them, and then start your home search. So next step is to apply for a mortgage. So most times I recommend to apply to at least 3 different lenders because this will give you a good idea on the different rates that you're being offered, the amount of loan that you're being offered, and you have a 30-day period to be able to shop around, and it doesn't negatively affect your credit either. So first recommendation would be ask your realtor, see what their preferred lender is. Normally they have good relationships with those lenders. And secondly, I would go to your local credit union or bank that you currently have an account with. And third, a mortgage broker. Mortgage brokers are great because they normally shop around for the best rates, and so you can sometimes get a really great deal with them as well. When you go to these different lenders, what we're looking for is a pre-approval. So after you submit all those important documents that I said that you need to get organized with, that based on your credit and your income, this is how they decide how much they're going to pre-approve you for a home. Say for instance, they pre-approve you for $400,000. As a realtor, I'll always recommend to my clients, we are not going to be looking at the very top of your budget at $400,000. Normally we start about $350,000, especially in this market where things are a little bit more expensive, because we want to make sure that we're staying realistic, and we're not going to the top of your budget, because if it's a competitive market like it is now, if you don't have the additional expenses or funds to go over that max amount, or to fill in the max that may, or the additional that may go over that $400,000, we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that just because you're approved for $400,000 doesn't mean that you need a $400,000 house or that you can afford a $400,000 house. One thing that's really important to be aware of is when you're getting pre-approved for a home, they are pre-approving you based on your gross income. This is before taxes. So they're not seeing that, hey, you may pay daycare or you may have other expenses that are coming out that contribute to that, because they're just looking at what your gross income is before taxes. So when searching for your home, just remember that it's important to be really conservative because just because you're approved for that $400,000, you know what your bills are, you know what you're spending day to day. And like I said, the lenders are only looking at what your gross income is, not your net. So you want to make sure that you're understanding what kind of bills you have so that you're able to afford that mortgage. There are 4 different types of loans. There's FHA, conventional, USDA, and VA loan. FHA and conventional are the most popular types of loans, but USDA is a loan that allows you to buy homes in a more rural area with 100% financing, and VA is for my vets that also allow you to buy a home with 100% financing. So next is the fun part. You get to start searching for your home. This is really important It's really important in this step to communicate with your realtor on the neighborhoods that you want to look at, what's important, and just speak to them about what the kind of market you're in currently. You're going to want to know whether you're in a seller's market, whether you're in a buyer's market, or somewhere in between, because this is going to determine the strategy that you and your realtor are going to use when buying your home and putting in offers. So next, you are going to put in an offer. So you and your realtor, if you find a place that you love, that's when a contract is created and we're going to submit an offer to either the listing agent or the seller. So in this process, after you submit that offer, the listing agent or the seller then has the ability to accept your offer, counter your offer, or unfortunately ignore it altogether. So when they accept your offer or counter your offer, then the process begins where if it's countered, you're negotiating. If it's accepted, then we are in a binding contract. Now, once we're on a contract, binding contract means that you have signed agreeing what you want to purchase the home for, and the seller has signed agreeing that, yes, I am accepting that you are going to purchase the home for this with this amount of financing, etc., etc. And there are certain contingencies within your contract that protect you, and you are now in the escrow period. In the escrow period, depending on your realtor and depending on the market, which right now we're in a seller's market, is going to determine how long that escrow period is. In that escrow period, this is where you do your due diligence. You're going to hire an inspector to come and inspect the home and make sure that there's nothing that's major wrong with it. And if there is, to negotiate those repairs or those problems, you're going to check out the neighborhood, check out the schools, and just make sure that that home and that area are perfect for you. While in this due diligence period, depending on how the time frame that your realtor and you chose, that can be 7 to 14 days, depending, you have the ability to pull out safely during this time. So if you do decide that any of the repairs are a little bit too expensive, or that the seller isn't willing to repair the home, or just maybe that neighborhood just wasn't what you thought it was, you're able to safely during that period pull out and find another home. So once you get past that escrow period or the due diligence period, next is going to be your appraisal period. So in the appraisal period, this is where your lender is going to send a non-biased appraiser to the home so that they can actually find out the worth of the home. So the worth of the home that the appraiser determines is actually going to determine the amount of financing that the bank will give you. Because the house, when you're getting a loan, that house is collateral for the bank. So they want to make sure that that home is worth the amount of loan and collateral that they are giving you. So doesn't matter how much you put for the purchase price of the home. Say, for instance, you're purchasing a home, or you say that you're purchasing the home for $400,000. If the appraiser comes and they determine that the home is actually not $400,000, it's $350,000, that's the amount that the bank is going to give you. So then at that point, you and the seller, or your realtor and the listing agent, will come together and begin negotiating how to make up that remainder. Whether the seller is going to accept what the appraised value is for the home, or depending on what was written in the contract, so specifically what your realtor put in the contract, you then decide as the buyer that you are going to make up that difference, which would be $50,000, or make up to a certain point, and you come to a negotiation from there. Also, during this period of time wherein the appraisal is going and everything, you are now in underwriting. So what that means is that your lender is now sending all of your paperwork that you originally sent to underwriting to make sure that you are still approved for that amount of loan that you were approved for previously. Now, when you were initially approved, say that it was for $400,000, they were just basing that off of your paperwork specifically. But now in underwriting, they're sending the contract, they're sending all of that documentation. Sometimes they're going to be calling your job. They're going to be really doing a more deep dive into your bank account and seeing what's coming in and what's going out so that they can determine and verify that you still can afford that amount of loan and are able to pay it back. Once you get through appraisal and underwriting and all of that, you go from pre-approved to approved, and they call that clear to close. And so we are on our way to closing, and that's an extremely exciting time because now all that is left is for the title company to do their job and continue to make sure that there are no liens on the home, and we get to closing. So basically at closing, you're just going to be signing the loan. You're signing the loan, you're signing lots of documents that are basically saying that this is what you're paying, you're agreeing to pay this mortgage back. They're explaining to you what the consequences are if you don't pay this loan. And you're just transferring over the title from the seller, the original owner of the home, to yourself as the new owner. As long as your realtor did an exceptional job during your escrow period, all of the negotiations were handled, and there's nothing left to do, the closing should go extremely smooth, and you will be with your new home. It's such an exciting process, and I really hope that you guys were able to give some value from this video. If you are looking forward to more information and real estate tips, please like, comment, and subscribe. I cannot wait to share more information.